Queer Next, the podcast that puts the yeehaw in y'all means all. I'm your host, Beck.
And I am your host, Dash. Welcome to today's episode.
Felix, I love you a lot, but you're just so annoying.
I was so glad to see Sabrina got her cat back.
She was really upset.
I bet.
That's Bilo is related to my cat Brisket. They have, I don't know how it goes. They're not litter mates. I think Bilo might be the sister, might be Brisket's aunt. And it's just, that whole line is not the brightest. But they're all very sweet and beautiful, so,
Yeah. You can't have it all.
Well, the person that, are you going to get up and leave? Goodbye, baby boy. He's like, well, I wasn't gonna, but if you insist. So I love Felix's lap cat era he's in, but it can be a lot. Okay, now maybe I won't have to touch all these wires and make that sound. One of these days I'll get like a proper like studio office setup, but I do have that plan for one of the bedrooms upstairs.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was saying. Probably not super important.
I feel like I have coconut in my teeth.
Save that for later.
Yeah. God, you have to try these. They're so good. They are. They're called Raffaello.
Raffaello.
Yeah, something. They come in these little tiny packets, and it's just a little coconut ball with coconut cream in it and an almond, and it's just delicious.
That sounds awesome.
I do these surveys for Facebook. It's an invite-only thing. Anyway, you make $5 at a time doing those, and I've made probably a couple $100 doing them over the last couple of years.
Why?
And I had $15 saved up, so I used those on my Raffaello, whatever they're called. They're coconut Ferrero Rochers.
I never get picked for stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm just too normie, I guess.
I like doing it.
Have you ever done jury duty?
I've been assigned to it once, but I got out of it because I was the main person at my job. That's when I worked at the photo studio, so they let me out of it.
I don't know why. It has to be coming for me someday, but I've never been, like, I've never gotten the summons or whatever.
After my dad died, he got a federal jury summons to go to a federal court in Cincinnati.
Well, they're just
I
shit
called
out of luck.
Yeah, I was like, sorry, he's dead. You wouldn't believe how I felt like. Have you ever seen that episode of Roseanne where Jackie is telling people their dad died? And she's talking to somebody who's hard of hearing, and she's like, Dad passed away. Dad went to heaven. Dad is gone. And they still didn't hear it. He's like, she's fine. Like, and she like screams it. It's really funny. That's how it felt, just calling everybody, all the Masons and all the car lots. And
Oh, man, yeah.
I was like, he's dead.
My mom's helping one of her sisters do that. Like, her husband died maybe a week ago, not very long ago. And so they're going through all that stuff and trying to clear out the house.
Oh, my dad died 3 years ago, and he gets more mail here than I do. He does. We put in a change of address form because we were leaving the property, so I put the whole family.
Oh, man.
Yeah, all his mail comes here. And it's because he's a man and he moved to this area, he's gotten letters from funeral parlors, giving him free lunches to come talk. And the local Masons wanted to welcome him, and like all kinds
Wow.
of different mail. Yeah.
Interesting.
The variety of mail he's gotten is very different than what I've gotten. He still gets credit card applications and all that shit.
They make it so easy sometimes.
Yeah. I rarely check my mail, so it just sits there.
Oh, I'm pretty bad about it. It was much worse when I was going to work every day because the post office here is open 3 hours a day. But now I was able to check it like once a month basically. But now I check it several times a week. But whenever I'm back to going into work, it'll go downhill again.
Yeah. Well, I live in a big complex. There's like 10 buildings or something, and they have one designated mail bank where there's just a bay of banks of
Yeah.
mailboxes, and it's so out of the way. It's such an inconvenience to get into that we just don't check it very often, unless we know there's a package down there.
If I had known that a post office, a P.O. box was mandatory with this house, I would not have bought it. I legit would have refused based on that
Oh,
because
wow.
I know that I just saw this coming. I knew that the way my brain works, the way my executive function, and how much fucking work it is to do every single thing here. I was like, yeah, I'll never check the mail. So then that turned out to be true.
Yeah. My parents had a P.O. box when I was a kid, and I was the designated mailbox checker. They would stop, and I'd have to run in.
Yeah, we always had one growing up because there wasn't mailboxes on the rural routes. Like, we lived on
Yeah.
25W, so
Yeah. Yeah, we were Route 1, Box 48, Lucasville, Ohio,
Yeah.
Where the hell is that? That could be anywhere. Then they went with the 911 addresses, and that all changed, so
So this was a couple weeks ago, and I have this one therapist that I see that's like a trauma therapist. So like we're doing like a whole lot of like serious talking and stuff when I'm in there. And I was telling him this story. I was kind of describing the way like people who don't experience any kind of like systemic or administrative disenfranchisement wouldn't know that it's possible to even get got in the ways that like trans people can, or immigrants, or whatever. Anybody who kind of can stand out in the system. So I was describing this like police interactions I've had to him, and I don't know what phrase I used, and I must have made a motion with my arm, but my watch called the fucking police while I was in therapy.
well,
And I realized it, and I like, oh shit, I like hung up really fast, but you can't hang up on them.
right.
So, and I told him that. I was like, "Oh god, I told him what happened." He goes, "All right, they're probably gonna call you back." And I was like, "I know, and that will make me have a panic attack." So, like, the fucking sheriff called me directly, and I was like, "No, no, everything's fine. It was an accident." And then I started to like panic or whatever. My therapist, he was like, "Yeah, no, go for it. This is great data." You son of a bitch. So, what are you feeling right now? Describe what you're feeling. Leave me alone.
Have you ever done the therapy that has the rapid eye movement where you go left to right I think it's or what's it? I forget what
EMDR?
it's called. Yeah, 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 yeah,
I have not. I'm scared of it.
yeah. Why?
Have you done it?
Yeah,
You have? I
I
don't
have.
know, it's so reactivating. It's clearly like, I have people who are close to me who are doing it, and, they'll be, like, wrecked when they're done with it.
Yeah, it was difficult because
Damn.
they just keep asking you, "And then what?" Basically. And you have to dig into whatever it is you're feeling, and you really get in your feelings. But, it gets it out. It's like a tooth extraction. The pain pulls it out.
The the first time I heard about it, I was like, "That sounds like some made up woo-woo bullshit," you know?
Yeah.
And then, no, it's a real thing, like, there's other versions, there are similar things like brain spotting, and the whole purpose of them is to sort of challenge old pathways of thinking, like associations the brain has, like, between, like, thought, sensation, and feeling and all that stuff and memories, and then kinda create new ones. It makes sense, but no, I don't know what he would characterize his approach as, but it's nothing like that, but he does do that thing where he's constantly like, "Describe what you're feeling right now." And I'm like, my all of my conditioning makes that an extremely difficult thing to do. Like everything about me, like the life, just my life has necessitated not having emotions. I mean, emotions were like shameful in our household. Oh my god, I made some chili last night, and it's like the best pot of chili I think I've ever made,
Oh,
legitimately.
wow.
Like, I taste tested it. This is first day, not even second day. I'm excited for today. It's gonna be lit. And, so I just did that thing where I taste tested it, and I had just eyeballed, I had my chili powders and all my, salt and oregano and stuff, and I just kinda threw it all in there. And I didn't even have, normally, I would put a beer in it, like a really dark beer for that, like, yeasty barley kinda cut through flavor. Didn't have that because I don't like buying beer. And I was like, "Oh my god, this is delicious."
Is that the first time you've made chili since you quit smoking?
Yeah,
That could be a big part of it.
it
Your
could be,
taste
you're
buds
right.
totally change.
Yeah, they wake back up. Although I did
Yeah.
make it like, back when I had quit the last time, I'm sure I made it, but, that was a couple years ago. Because when I started smoking again, it was almost exactly a year that I spent smoking.
Yeah.
Because I started back again shortly after I moved here.
Got you. We're going on 11 years since we quit.
Nice. Well, smoking's allowed on our campus.
Oh, wow.
There'll be staff and faculty just puffing on corners everywhere. So, and I'm not supposed to even be around it. I'm not supposed to be exposed to it at all. So, if I go back to campus, I'm just gonna be like running by everybody.
It makes me nostalgic, makes me miss my mom.
Oh, I'm sure I'll like the smell of it, but if I can't ingest it because it could, like, the risk of nicotine on wound healing, especially like the bone graft, like it could cause that thing to pop right open.
Yeah.
There's a word for it. Dehiscence?
I don't know that word.
I had not heard it before either. It basically just means a wound opens back up again.
I should know that one well.
But yeah, that's what nicotine will do if you have had any kind of it does it for both incisions, and it would make my bone graft not take. And I need, like, that's at least a year, they say, like, not to even be near nicotine.
Yeah. On this charts and everything, I'm back to being a pre-smoker status.
Hell
It's
yeah.
been so long. Yeah, it's been so long. But I was a heavy smoker. I cannot be trusted at all. Like I smoke one cigarette and I'm a 2 pack a day smoker immediately. Like it just I have no
That's
limits.
that
I have no
ADHD.
boundaries. Yeah. It was bad. I would just smoke one after the other because as soon as I got done with one, I was like, okay, I need something to do with my hands, you know?
You know something I realized, and I don't listeners, I'm sorry if I've told this before, but, the like, I had become one of those, like, I only smoke when I drink people. So then I just started drinking all the time, like, I would find excuses to drink so that I could have cigarettes, and then when I finally quit drinking, like, I was going crazy, and I was like, "Oh god, these withdrawals are awful," or whatever, and then I just decided to smoke a cigarette, and they went away. They were not alcohol withdrawals, they were nicotine withdrawals, and I was like, "God damn it, all this time I have not been an alcoholic. I've been somebody who was who would drink just so they could have a cigarette." Because I've never once, like, that the day I stopped drinking alcohol, I just never thought about it again. Well, the day I smoked the first cigarette after I quit drinking alcohol, I never thought about alcohol again.
Yeah.
It was actually kind of embarrassing. I was like, "That is the dumbest reason to drink I have ever heard of."
Well, there's been dumber, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, I don't know. People have all kinds of reasons for getting up to the stuff we do that's not any good for us.
I started smoking again my first week of grad school, or my
Mm.
first week of the PhD program. No, it was regular grad school, and then I quit. I was smoking in my master's program and then quit, and then started again my first PhD program finals week, and somebody brought over a pack of cloves, and I ended up quitting because I didn't wanna be a doctor that smoked. I felt like that would be a hypocritical thing. Even though you're not that kind of doctor, you can be smart enough to know you shouldn't be smoking. So
I think if you're someone who might wind up being somebody's role model, because I was very sensitive about the fact that students would see me smoking on campus. I would do things to try to get out of their line of sight, and I would go for walks. I would take my walk, like, after I had lunch or something like that, and that's when I would smoke. Because and I didn't, I wasn't like, "They're gonna see me doing this and think it's cool." I mean, they're adults. It doesn't work that way. But still, I it felt like in some ways, like, at odds with the role I had. And, my supervisor, he also smoked, like, we would smoke together, and he would make fun of me. He's like, "I don't know why you're not gonna get in trouble. I don't know why you're hiding it." And it's like, "I know you don't know why I'm hiding it. Nobody looks up to you."
right,
'Cause people really don't know what it's like to have no choice about whether you're a role model.
right,
That's one kind of minority stress that, people who don't have marginalized identities, they don't know about that. There's no just blending in. Everything you do is hyper visible, and everything you do is significant.
right. I think that's true in a lot of academics, jobs, because even my role as a professor, people like some girl I was talking to her yesterday, and you could just tell she was so nervous to be talking to me, and it was like, "Girl, calm down," you know? We were just it's a darling, it really is, but I
Yeah.
forget sometimes that we have that kind of power.
I do too. I and it happened when we were grad students there, when I was living there. I got to know the LGBTQ students from the student group, and then the ones who would be connected with the resource center there. And there was one cohort in particular of graduates who, I spent a lot of time mentoring, and when they graduated, they sort of they would begin to go like, "Can we hang out or something?" Because we would do things over at Eric's. I mean, remember you and Shannon come over there a few times. We would just sit around and watch movies over there. Like, it was not some lit party. And so we were like, "Yeah, we're gonna watch some." I think we were watching horror movies, and we let them come over, and they were like, "Are we allowed to bring alcohol?" And I was like, "I don't care what you do. I mean, don't drive home if you're gonna drink, but," and I didn't that was, like, when I started to realize that, like, they really thought we were super cool.
Wow.
That's Ziggy. I don't know what she's doing. She's just got the zoomies.
I would pay $5 to have the Zoomies for, like, 1 minute.
The babies get them pretty often. The old men, maybe once or twice a week they'll get up to it. But yeah, she's right now she's running up and down the stairs as fast as she can, and she just likes to talk about it while she does it.
She's one of those people that jogs and talks at the same time.
Yeah. I don't know why cats do. All of mine do anyway. They'll go, if they're playing by themselves, especially upstairs, you'll just hear them talking about it.
We had one talkative cat. His name was Ted. He was named after TED Talks. That's how he got his name. His last name was Dammit. We had Ted Dammit. He was a good cat.
He was.
I miss having cat. I've missed having a cat so much. And now that baby's no longer with us, we got her back yesterday, by the way. We got the Ashes back. It was huge. Like I had gotten like a poodle back and they're like this big, and then baby's was like huge.
It's
But we got her paw print and they forgot to send it, but they got us an ink print and they saved some of her hair for us. So
wow.
I still can't believe she's gone. This house feels so empty without her because she had just a natural talent. She was an outside dog most of her life, so being inside was like a new thing. So she had a natural talent just to be in the way no matter where
Yeah,
she
she
stood.
had that outside dog energy.
Yeah, like no matter where she stood, she was right in the walkway. And she was so big, like you couldn't just walk around her, Did you
Yeah.
see the dog? Do you follow We Rate Dogs or anything like that?
I don't follow them, but I see their stuff every now and then.
There was a dog this week that they posted about. He got picked up as a stray, and not only did he get out of the kennel they had him in, he got out the front door, he bit the lock and turned the lock and got out and immediately ran home. Can you imagine that? That's like a movie, like him busting out of 2 different areas and then running home before they could he's like, "Oh shit, I gotta get home, and they're gonna find out I was out," or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got caught by the dog pound and he got out. I just think that's amazing. Shanna and I are going on a little trip this weekend just to get the hell out of Ohio for an
Oh,
evening. Our 22-year anniversary was this week.
I
So,
saw that.
yeah.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. 22 years is a long time. And it was longer than we were with our parents. I find that really interesting. We've been with each other longer than we were ever with our parents. So,
Yeah.
we're gonna go to Michigan and get a hotel room and just be out of Ohio for a night. It's only like 45 minutes from here, but we weren't able to travel because of baby either,
Yeah.
because the 4-hour thing, and she didn't travel, so she was too big.
Is it still like snowing and stuff there?
Yeah, it hasn't really quit. I had to cancel my class Wednesday night.
Hmm. Well, I woke up today and it was blizzarding, and they didn't say shit about it on the weather.
That's kinda how it is. It's like so normal.
Yeah.
Just another Tuesday, we're having a blizzard.
I got a bunch of like warm things to go for outside walks.
Nice.
It's about time.
My latest purchase was a pair of $10 sweatpants from Amazon, and they are so comfortable.
I've been living the sweatpants life. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go back to wearing clothes.
Yeah, I showered 4 times in a row this week. I have a day off. I'm wearing nothing but sweatpants, and I'm not putting a bra on, I'm not doing anything. Like, I might leave the house to go through a drive-through, but that's as much as I'm giving the world today. I just Do you know the spoon theory, that you have
I
to have
do.
so many spoons to get through a day? Showers just take so many spoons, and with my short hair and everything, I get bedhead if I even look at the bed, so I have to take a shower, and 4 in a row is just a lot. Like, just so
Yeah,
many spoons.
it
So,
is. It's not just the shower, it's everything that goes along with it, you
it's the
know.
drying off that gets me. There's just so much of me to dry off.
Well, and for me, it's like getting the clean clothes to put on before I have to heat up the bathroom because it's freezing.
Yep, same.
And then like after it's like moisturize, dirty clothes, brush teeth or whatever. I don't know. And as I get older, the list of shit just grows.
Yeah. Shanna does most of the laundry in our house, thank goodness.
I would like to get rid of some of my clothes. I just don't
Yeah,
wear things anymore.
I need to too. I have so many t-shirts, it's ridiculous.
I struggle to get rid of stuff because so much of it is sentimental.
Yeah.
I know that that's hoarding, and I know that I inherited that from my dad.
I have 2 sets of clothes. I have my work clothes, and then I have my after-school clothes. So, I have 2 entirely different, because I come home and immediately change every day.
Yeah, I noticed when I was working in admissions that I hardly ever wore anything but my EKU stuff. Like the rest of my wardrobe went totally untouched.
Yep.
So I just stopped getting other kinds of clothes. Now I can't like operate the closure of jeans because it takes two hands and this hand is so stupid. So I'm wearing either sweatpants or like these. I'm very fashion forward with I have coveralls for every, and I'm like, okay, this is what you get right now.
I don't like coveralls because you have to basically undress to go to the potty.
It's true. As I was editing that Jennifer's body episode, I kept thinking of other things that I meant that we could have talked about, and it's whatever. I don't want to catch them all, but one thing I have been thinking about was when we were talking about the like ways like that we as a culture and Hollywood have these cycles of how we treat women on camera beyond just their sexualization or objectification, but like how their careers are actually the trajectory. So, as an example, there's a joke. Oh, what is that movie with? It's got Mindy Kaling and Emma Thompson in it. And they're stand-up comedians. About she has a late night show.
That doesn't
Oh,
sound familiar to me at all.
it was okay. I enjoyed it. You might like it. Late Night, 2019. Like, so the conceit is that Emma Thompson's character was a stand-up comedian, but she had become a late night host and, kind of lost touch. And Mindy Kaling is this like intern and she's got her finger on the pulse and whatnot. And there's a scene where Emma Thompson's character decides to do a surprise set at a benefit, and she sucks. She's doing material that nobody understands. It's kind of like obvious. It's clearly like stuff she's read about but doesn't know anything about social media, and she gets really discouraged. And so then she starts talking about what it's like to be a woman who grows old in Hollywood or in as some form of celebrity. And she says this joke where she was like, I would have to get Botox to do voice work. And it's like, from the earliest days of Hollywood, that's been you age out of relevance or whatever as
Yeah, you have a face for radio.
you're right. And then we've got Steve McQueen playing a 17-year-old at the age of 32.
Yeah.
And in 1960, whatever, 32 was a hard ass 32, right? These are not the
Right.
hydration queens of social media 32 these days. But there was that moment, this kind of revival of the enduring feminine presence that grows old and grows in power. And I was thinking about like where that came from, like who floats that boat, and it's queer culture, particularly the gay male appreciation for femininity as it ages. I think of how, for instance, RuPaul, he has talked about like how he created that character, his drag persona. It's a mixture of Joan Crawford. Actually, he said not Joan Crawford, but it's the woman's name who played her in Mommy Dearest, Faye Dunaway. So like a pastiche of an image, So he's like, it's equal parts that and Elvira is who he created RuPaul from.
Oh, wow.
And there's this black man underneath, and it kind of completes that character. If you watch queer culture, especially gay male culture, drag and that aging icon, Joan Rivers, Kathy Moriarty's character in But I'm a Cheerleader is a drag queen.
I just watched that again the other day.
Yeah, and so, and she was invited to be in that film because everybody loves her so much, but it's like not until they reach a certain age
Right.
can you become the icon of, I don't know what that is. I don't know what it's called. There's probably a name for it and I don't know it yet. I didn't actually do any research. I've just been thinking about like how queer an aging woman is.
Right. That makes me think of the myth of Stonewall, how it was supposedly happened because that was the day Judy Garland, her funeral was. Did you know that?
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, the reason that they started Stonewall, that's the reason they snapped. It was the Stonewall riot happened on the same day as Judy Garland's funeral.
Okay. Well, I don't know enough to agree or disagree,
I've read it in several places.
but I wouldn't be surprised if, even if we can't say like, oh, it was a directly contributing factor, that could have been in the air, I guess is a way to put it, like this loss of an icon. Because Judy Garland was one of those, sort of icons of queer culture, but also the figure of Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz and that whole association is very queer as well. Like
Right.
the friend of Dorothy.
Yeah. I do a whole little segment in one of my lectures about Stonewall. We talk about why we do Pride in June and
Mhm.
how the myth is that Marsha P. Johnson threw the first brick, and that's not true either. Marsha herself has said that she wasn't even there when the first brick was thrown, and
Yeah.
the general consensus is that it was probably a butch lesbian who was working as a bouncer that threw the first shot glass.
Hmm. Yeah.
Have you ever seen She's Beautiful When She's Angry?
No?
It's all about the second wave of feminism, and it's fantastic. It's a documentary style.
Mm. Looks like it's on Tubi.
It's very good, I highly recommend it. They even, interview Rita Mae Brown, who wrote one of my favorite books of all time, Ruby Fruit Jungle. I don't know if you've
Mhm.
ever heard of that book.
Yeah, you told me about it. I haven't read
Yeah.
it, though.
Well, she's the author of that, and she would had her hand right in the middle of all the feminist doings of the second wave in the '60s and '70s, so I loved that about it.
I mean, we rightly are critical of the second wave of feminism, and we should be critical of the idea of waves of feminism.
Oh, yeah, I talk about that too.
But a lot of the theorizing that we still rely on to this day about how to construct identity, what our like idea of equality is, and how do we like what we derive that from comes from that stuff, comes from those
Yeah,
thinkers. Betty Friedan, plenty of things to criticize about her, but where would we be without was it the feminine mystique? Is that what it's called?
yeah, the
Yeah,
problem that has no name.
right. And that goes for like the political lesbians too.
I was talking about them the other day, how there were separatists, about how they would
Mhm.
even not let boy children come into the communes or whatever, and Shannon was like, "We should find one of those."
Who was it that wrote What We're Rolling Around With? Is that Gail Rubin?
I don't know that one.
What We're Rolling Around in Bed With. Oh my god, is it Amber Hollabaugh? That's embarrassing. She's one of my favorites.
You should send
Oh,
that to me.
okay. Yeah, it looks like something that was written as a summary in a way of a conversation between her and Sherry Moraga. Sherry Moraga was the speaker at our diversity award banquet for the students last year. It was the day after the fucking election.
Oh, wow.
So that would have been the year before last now at this point. Have you read Amber Hollabaugh, the
No,
My Dangerous Desires?
no.
You should. She died. I think it was 2020. She died. She was very good friends with Dorothy Allison. I think Dorothy Allison actually wrote the foreword or something for My Dangerous Desires. But so Amber Hollabaugh she identified as white trash or trailer trash. Alternatively, she grew up in extreme poverty in the trailer park or a trailer park, and had an incredibly interesting life, a really hard life in places. But she had this concept of the queer survival economy, which is just people who are fully disenfranchised from real economy, the kinds of things they do, these microtransactions they create to sustain one another.
It makes me think of a piece that I teach my students called "I Want a Wife" by Judy Seifert. It was the first, one of the first articles printed in the first Ms. Magazine issue that went out. And basically, it's written from a satirical point of view, and she lists all the things. I want a wife that cleans up after me and allows me to concentrate on my academics and my writing life, and remembers all the birthdays and the holidays and does the vacuuming. And then she just goes through a whole list of things that the wife would do for her. And she's like, Of course, I want a wife. Why wouldn't you?" And my students get a lot of feelings about that particular essay because I use it for the discussion boards, and I say, "Do you think women are still expected to do all of these things in the 21st century?" Because that was written in the '70s. So how much has it changed in the last 50 years? And not much.
No, I don't think the expectations of the domestic sphere, like the women are expected to do more professionally and personally and take care of, themselves now, but there's no fewer expectations on them in terms of
Yeah, we
domesticity.
talk about the second shift.
The history of the social construction of the domestic sphere and the public sphere in American history is actually most I don't wanna say most. It's very, like, heavily explored in, masculinity theory, in American masculinity theory in particular. Like, they have the stages of American masculinity. I think it's communal, passionate, and independent are the 3 stages. But at a certain point, they needed to construct those different roles for women and construct a rationale for why they couldn't change, and that was when they came up with this idea that like women are naturally adept at domesticity, ergo they need to stay in the home. And a lot went into making that look true. See, people, a lot of times people will be like, well, but women are more nurturing and yada yada or whatever. And it's like, what that's not what we mean though. That doesn't have to happen in the home. Nurturing can happen anywhere.
Yeah.
What it, like let's for a second, let's say you're right about that. Let's say your bioessentialist ass is correct that women are more nurturing. Wouldn't you want them in war then? Or in the workplace in a high pressure CEO suite? You wouldn't, if this was a D&D party, you'd want a healer. So that's not what we're talking about. Well, okay, but then women are, should take care of the kids or something like that. It's like, whose kids? Like, just because let's say I as a woman am better at taking care of children than any given man, it doesn't have to be my kids. I could get a job as a nanny and take care of somebody else's kids. So, like, what they actually did to make this look true was to make public space inaccessible to women. A good example is, what building was it? I think it was either the Capitol. Yeah, when Trump and Hillary were doing their debates or something like that, and they took a restroom break, and she was late coming back to the debate.
I remember.
Well, it's because there's one women's bathroom in that whole fucking building, and it's like a 20-minute walk away from the room they were in. And so, like, one way to keep women out of public spaces was to make it so that they couldn't access the restrooms in there. So that's why bathrooms are segregated by sex in America, was to keep women out of public. And now they're being used to attack trans people.
The bathroom debate came up with the ERA too.
Go
The
ahead.
bathroom debate is something that changes with each political administration, but it's the same argument, right? But they never want to talk about the actual problem, which is heterosexual men who go into these bathrooms. Yeah, that do these
Predators.
things. It's not the trans women. It's not, it's not the trans men doing these things. It is the heterosexual, generally white men, if statistically showing that they're the ones doing this. We can talk about predators. We can talk about sexual assault. It has nothing to do with it has
I'd
nothing to
love
do with
to.
trans people using the bathroom. I showed my students a Phyllis Schlafly, Betty Friedan debate. It was on Good Morning America about the
Oh,
ERA.
man.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And in that conversation about the ERA, Phyllis Schlafly, her big argument was girls are gonna be, drafted if the ERA passes, right? But then her other argument was the bathrooms. What's gonna happen when people start using all the same bathrooms? So they were using bathrooms as a fear tactic as early as the late '60s, early '70s.
Yeah, and women's bathrooms became kind of a refuge. It was the only place they were
Right.
safe from men. Like, they had that big, like, antechamber, this culture of going to the restroom in groups. That's because men aren't safe to be around. Nothing to do with trans people. But there's a couple of trans sports things up in front of SCOTUS, and Conley Barrett, of all people, gave remarks that they were a bit too sweeping. And it's important because they're starting to realize that none of this shit is real, that they've fallen for a boogeyman, and they're actually about to legislate themselves. Cis women and cis men are going to be punished by this. Trans people, I hate to tell y'all this, but you have been pissing and shitting next to trans people your entire life.
Yep.
We blend right the hell in. The person that's going to be policed by this is the effeminate man, the masculine looking woman, the intersex person, the non-binary person.
There's a lady I follow recently on Facebook. So she got posted on some right-wing website, and she's straight. She has kids and everything, but she has a more masculine face. And the hate that she has been getting, saying you're always going to be a dude, blah 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 blah, like all of the things that you can imagine they would say to her. And she's literally like has children, like has giant breasts, like
Yeah.
I realize that the trans person can have children and the trans person can have breasts and all those kinds of things, but like.
Just because she could probably kick your ass and it wouldn't make you want to fuck her, that's why you're mad
Yeah.
at her.
Yeah,
Like,
that's you just nailed the unfuckability is the problem. That's what people actually get mad about.
and it's always a joke too that says the exact correct thing, but somebody said on some social media, this whole trans bathroom panic has taught me that conservatives, especially conservative men, public restrooms are deeply sexual places for these people.
Yeah.
And whatever they think is going on in women's restrooms, they're who we should be afraid of.
And all it was never about the restrooms, like, it was never about the water fountains, you know what I mean? It's just a lot of bullshit throwing in there. Like, it's a trans panic, they are totally trying to control the narrative. Look over here and hate these people and don't pay attention to what we're doing behind the curtain here. I noticed I haven't heard of any trans people on the Epstein list.
No, and have you noticed that they have stopped it's coming back a little bit. There's a few anti-drag bills that are worth mentioning, but, the discourse about all trans people being groomers has died down, and it's because they've got to normalize pedophilia now, and
Yeah,
so because they're being outed as pedophiles, like, we're all that shit's gonna come out. It may be after they're long dead and consequences can no longer be, applied, but it's coming out. The Sasha Riley testimony it is incredible. He may not have any proof, but the details are on point, and some of it is trackable.
yeah,
And the files themselves, blah, blah, blah. Like it's all gonna come out. So now they've got to normalize pedophilia because they themselves are pedophiles.
yeah.
So it's not as fashionable now. I haven't been called a groomer in forever.
Wow. There's I don't know if you've heard about it yet. It's been making the news channels around here. There's a drag queen who owns a food truck, that's running for office.
Yeah,
He's running for, Congress. Sugar Vermonte, I think
I
is
saw
his drag
that.
name. Yeah. Like, he's well known in Toledo circles. Like, I follow some Toledo, Facebook pages, and he's always on there trolling people, like, and he's
Yeah.
always really smart about it, but he's running as a libertarian, which I found interesting. But some people are like, "Go on." And he's getting a lot of the, "If you don't even know what you are," which tells me people don't even understand the basic difference between drag and trans, you know?
No, they don't. And they don't know
Yeah.
anything about performance. Like these are people that don't realize they're performing their gender
Yeah.
all the
They need a
time.
good Judy B lecture is what they need.
Yeah. Plenty of people could. Do you so for a time there, have you ever read the Martha Nussbaum like diatribe against Judith Butler? It's called The Professor of Parody, which was the first she read, I think it was Gender Trouble, the very first thing, and was so mad that Judith didn't have the answer, basically. So she couldn't accept that and I'm not saying, some of her critiques were I haven't read it in a long time, but I remember thinking like, okay, yeah, I see your point there, but Judith Butler didn't set out to solve gender for us. She was creating an analytic, and she did a great job because to this day we can still refer to Gender Trouble if we need to teach. It's a good like text to teach from. But yeah, they had this whole like spat going back and forth. I mean, there's academic beef that just would shock you. The stuff people do.
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't shock me. I've been in academia too long. I remember thinking about the cult of true womanhood, which is an older article, but it's an idea before its time. Basically, the idea is that women have these 4 kind of pillars that they have to stand up to, piety, domesticity, submissiveness, and purity. Like, you have to be a virgin, and then piety, you have to be responsible for, like, the family's religious education, you have to be a church-going girl, you have
Hmm.
to be a domestic goddess, and you have to submit to your man, right? And they've been talking about these 4 pillars of womanhood from in magazine articles from, like, the 1830s. Like, this has been the idea of what a real woman is in America for over 200 years, right? Or almost 200 years. And it's wild to me that the expectations of women have not changed at all, but the expectations of men have wildly changed, right? Because men of that time, they had to be good farmers and good animal husbandry people and things like that. And men don't need that nowadays. Most of them don't anyway. So what it takes to be a man is very different than what it takes to be a woman. But yet we don't change. We don't adapt. There's so many things that you could say about a woman that are outside of those 4 pillars. There's so much more to being a woman than just those 4 things. And to reduce it down to just that is wild to me. But it doesn't change. They still expect the same out of us.
No, that's a good point. Like you can tell that something is not autonomous. It doesn't have, agency or freedom if it doesn't evolve. It's like femininity is so constrained, confined, policed, controlled, and going back to what we were talking about earlier, that only happens by design. People would love to act like, oh, men are they just happen to be better at war. Men happen to be better at the kind of war men wage.
Right?
And then, oh God, did you see? I probably not, but so there's this terminally online pick me bitch named Pearl. Just Pearly Things is her like online stuff. She hangs out in the manosphere. She's dreadful. And she decided, I don't know what got into her tiny pea brain. She decided to debate, literally standing on a stage behind a podium, Anna Kasparian.
I
Like,
don't know who that is.
she's a political analyst. You'd know her if you saw her. And she's like, she has a tongue, right? Like she's silver tongue. She's just cuts right to the quick. And it is one of the most, it's like cringe. It's super embarrassing. Like you get secondhand embarrassment from watching it because what Pearl and these manosphere dudes do, and so she just like copies what they say. It's like the shit about like, well, alimony, blah 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 blah. It's unfair, and and there's the made up statistics. So one thing she said was like 90% of court custody cases go the mom's way, and Anna Kasparian said like that sounds wildly inaccurate. Is that made up? Where are you citing that from? And Pearl doesn't get asked that because they all in that manosphere, they just trade these fake facts around each other like this is their currency. And she short circuited. She just like dropped the microphone and stared out into the I think she dissociated for 30 seconds of just
Wow.
dead air silence. And this happened multiple times in this debate. And it got to the point where Anna Kasparian, I think she was a little concerned about her because she was like, this isn't going well. Do we need to stop? But there's, that whole like, well, men's suicidality, all these manosphere talking points. But what you're describing is patriarchy. What you're describing is how you are struggling under patriarchy. And I would love for that to change for you. But what I need you to recognize is the fact that it's you that set it up that way. It's masculinity, it's patriarchy that has set your misery in motion here. And that always breaks down. Like they can't talk about that.
Gotta love it. At least I didn't have anybody tell me they don't use pronouns this semester, so there's that. Though I do start my conversation because the way that I do it is the first day of classes, I have an attendance sheet, and I take a stab at their last name, and then they can tell me the first name and
Yeah.
pronouns they wanna use. And before I even got started, I was like, "And don't tell me you don't use pronouns. I will make fun of you all semester if you tell me something like that." And so nobody tells me that shit, so
Some people they need to pick a struggle.
yeah.
Well, did you bring a noun of Appalachian interest?
I did. I
Mm.
did. All right. Today's noun of Appalachian interest is Blenko Glass. If you grew up anywhere near West Virginia, there's a decent chance you've seen Blenko Glass without realizing it. It might have been on a windowsill at your grandma's house catching the afternoon sun. It might have been holding sweet tea, or it might have been that one vase everyone warned you about. Don't touch that. That's Blenko. Blenko Glass was founded in 1893 by William J. Blenko, an English glassmaker who knew his way around hot furnaces long before he came to the U.S. After a few moves and false starts, the company landed in Milton, West Virginia in 1921, and that's where it stayed. Turns out Appalachia was a good place for people who knew how to work with fire and patience. At first, Blenko made flat glass for stained glass windows. Later on, especially during the hard years of the Great Depression, they started making colorful glassware, vases, pitchers, bottles, things people could actually use in their homes. That shift helped keep the company going when a lot of others didn't make it. Every piece of Blenko glass is still hand-blown, shaped by people using breath, tools, and timing. No machine spitting out identical copies, and that's why no two pieces look exactly alike. One might lean a little, one might have bubbles, and that's not a mistake, it's proof that someone made it. The colors are also part of the legend. Deep blues, greens, yellows, reds, glass that looks like it belongs in the sunlight and opens curtains. You don't hide Blenko unless you're scared somebody's going to knock it over. You set it out where it can be seen because it earned that spot. There's something very Appalachian about Blenko, both being art and practical. It can be fancy, but it can also hold water, flowers, or whatever drink you've got ready. It says, I look nice, but I have a job to do. And if you've ever been to the Blenko factory and watched glass being made, you know how it feels, like half magic and half like you're watching someone cook with lava. It's hot, fast, and steady all at once. You walk out knowing you just saw a skill that has to be passed down, not rushed, not automated, just practiced. So that's today's noun, not just glass, not just history, but West Virginia glass, made by people who stayed, adapted, and kept making something worth setting in the window.
Hell yeah.
It really is a well-known thing, especially around the Huntington area. Like, Blenko is world famous. Shanna wants a glass fish like her grandmother had, so we're gonna have one of those at some time. And I've bought her a couple of Blenko pieces over the years, but I've never had it myself. Shanna has some, but I've been to the factory and watched them make it before. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I bet. I didn't know anything about it. Like, I don't know. It probably wasn't much of a thing where I grew up, but glass in general, like glassware, was a big deal. Like people collected.
Yeah.
My grandparents on my dad's side, their basement, all the walls were shelves just lined with what were probably Prohibition era liquor bottles, but they were just interesting colors and like blown glass.
I even have an acquaintance that works there.
Cool.
She was friends with my ex, and then we worked together at Amazon, but she was kinda cool to me the whole time. But so I call her an acquaintance. Anyway, she works there, she's one of their managers now and seems to love it. So, I think it would Shannon would love to get into blowing glass and stuff like that. It's just an expensive hobby and hard to get into.
Yeah. There's a glass blowing competition show I watched for a while, but the American versions of like the artisan competition shows are not good. I
Yeah.
The British various universe of competitions like Bake Off and Sewing Bee, Pottery Throwdown, all that stuff, they're really elite. They like created the mold and it's a culture. Americans don't compete like British people do. Like Americans are out here like fucking sabotaging each other, talking shit, forming alliances. Can you imagine a bunch of potters forming an alliance like they're on Survivor?
I actually can. That was Shanna's specialty in college was, ceramics. And so there it was very clicky. So I can see something
Yeah.
like that happening.
I made like 2 things in high school. We were really lucky at that, high school I went to. Talked about how what a good school it was. And they had the art room was just filled with materials. It had a full-size walk-in kiln. Like, we got to play with all kinds of cool techniques. So I made a few sculptures, I guess you'd call them. They weren't, pottery, but I have found most art very frustrating. I'm just not particularly good at it.
Yeah. I have never tried pottery before, which is surprising since that's her whole world for several years. I've just never had the opportunity to get my hands in clay like that. I'd love to try it, but I did have to take 2 drawing classes as an undergrad as part of my major. Yeah, my associate's degree was in IT, and you know how many websites you draw.
Yep.
It still
It's
doesn't make any sense to me why I had to take drawing classes, but I'm still glad I took them because I learned how to basically make a generic representation of something. Like, I'm not gonna make I could draw my table and TV, and it would look like my table and TV, but it wouldn't be exact. The proportions would be wrong and that kind of thing. But taking a drawing class really teaches you how to see things,
Yeah.
like objects.
I got as far as being able to reproduce. Like I could go like, all right, I can draw that because I'm looking at it. I can I can use, this particular technique or skill to create this illusion. But what frustrated me was like never getting to a place where I could take what I saw in my mind's eye and make it in real life. I don't think I've ever
Same.
once had that happen.
Well, I have with photography. With photography was where I found my niche.
I didn't take
I was pretty
photography.
good at that. Well, I worked at a studio,
Yeah.
so I learned hands on. I did take every photography class I could get my hands on when I was an undergrad.
It was so prohibitively expensive.
Yeah, especially when I got into it because it was when the digital divide was coming, and
Yep.
so film was getting harder to find and more expensive, and the chemicals were more expensive, and even buying a camera was more expensive because the film ones were it was a weird time because now they're still making film cameras. They've started new lines. People are going back to film
I
somewhat.
saw that, yeah.
Um,
Well, it's
yeah,
kitsch now. It's,
yeah,
people are like, "Oh, it's nostalgic."
yeah,
It always comes back around to that, I think.
yeah. Yeah, I used to be pretty good at photography. I mean, I was the head photographer in a business that was very successful. So we did babies and weddings and high school seniors and old couples and whole families and
I used to carry those disposable cameras. I would buy them just by the armload and take pictures a lot, and I had thousands of photos of just all the places I had been. I traveled around a lot when I was younger, and at some point, one place or another that I was living or crashing, they disappeared, and I know I'll never, there's no way I'll never find those, but they exist somewhere, which is really weird to me sometimes. Like sometimes I'll think about the fact that like somebody has those.
Yeah. Well, when my mom died, that was a really hard time for me, and just getting out of bed sometimes was a very difficult task. So I gave myself assignments. There was a really cool park in Bowling Green called the Simpson Garden Park, and it's beautiful. They have several different gardens within it, and there's a walking track, and there's art all through it. And I would give myself assignments, and I would just take my cell phone. I wouldn't even take my big camera. I would take my cell phone, and I would give myself assignments to take. Like one of my assignments was rainbow, so I'd have to take a picture of something of every color while I was at the park. Or dramatic bitches was one of my categories, because there's lots of flowers out there that are very dramatic bitches. So that or dead things, like you'd only take pictures of dead flowers or dead trees or things. Like, I had all kinds of little assignments, but it kept me interested in something and kept me getting out of bed and going outside and walking
Yeah.
and exercising, and it really helped me get through the 2 years after I lost mom. When we moved down to Portsmouth, I really missed it. That was one of the hardest things for me to give up, but there was nothing like that down there,
Yeah.
so, yeah, I love taking pictures.
We'll have to have a photography challenge.
Okay,
You can set us all one, and we'll make a thread or something about it.
I'm in.
Well, I gotta get back to work.
Oh, yeah, I forgot you were working today.
Yeah, kind of.
We're taking the next 2 days off, so I've gotta get shit done today, and then I don't have class on Monday because of Martin Luther King Day,
Yeah.
so I'll work some more then, but we're gonna take 2 days off and just enjoy being together, so.
I gotta see a shitload of doctors on Monday.
Oh, no.
I'm hoping they'll give me good news. It's just like follow-ups. Well, listeners, thanks for hanging out with us again. Let us know if you have ever been on a snipe hunt.
If anyone has any suggestions for Appalachian nouns of interest, please send them my way. You can email us at mailbag@queernext.com, or under any of our social posts. You can comment there.
Yeah, please do. One thing is like Appalachia is incredibly diverse. It's a large region. Most of my knowledge is filtered through Eastern Tennessee and Kentucky. Yours is West Virginia, Ohio region. Like, we
Yeah.
want to know about where y'all are from. And if you're not
Yeah.
from Appalachia, there's got to be similar experiences across different locations. We want to know about them because we like people.
Most of the time.
Yeah, right. On that note, fuck ICE, fuck Donald Trump, fuck Christine,
Amen.
fuck Stephen
Amen.
Miller.
Have you seen the Christy Nome is
Is a
a
bird-legged hoe? That's been my vocal stem for it's a whole song.
that should be the
too. Like,
title of the episode.
I know the person. Like it's got to be possible to find the person who made that song. I don't know who, so I can like give credit, but yeah, it's just perfect. It's the perfect chant.
Yeah, agreed.
Bird-legged hoe is such a fucking read. That's some middle school stuff. Like if somebody called you that, they would send you to the shadow realm.
Did you see that meme I posted the other day? Scientist, I'm going to name you the wedge fish because you are shaped like a wedge. Fish bites scientist. Bony-eared ass fish. Bony-eared ass fish. That's what I want to be reincarnated as. Bony-eared ass fish.
Well, from your lips to God's ears. Stay safe, everybody. We'll see you back here next week. Say hi to your mom and them.
Bye.